Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of VNture Podcast with your hosts, me, Taros113, and MR. It's time for us to dive into our monthly readports of what we've been reading over the past month. However, this will be a little different because MR has made this somewhat of a themed readport as we take a look into certain VNs with gameplay aspects to it. And I think this would be a really interesting aspect, and in fact we have so much to cover is that this might spill over into next episode as well. But before we get too much farther into it, MR, what have you been reading?
Oh, I've been busy, you know it. And funny how there will be actually two common themes in all the VNs I've read last month. First, all of them are gameplay VNs, meaning they have a substantial amount of gameplay incorporated in them. I'll be talking about how that fares and how that enhances or maybe diminishes the story or the experience itself, as well as, funnier still, all of them feature the anime trope of a demon lords. So if you like that, oh boy, do I have titles for you. Oh. Enjoy.
Gameplay VNs featuring demon lords.
All of them.
I feel like that's an extremely MR thing to get engrossed with over the past month.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Well, tell us about it then. Tell us about it.
Okay, first thing first. Rance 03. Last time I spoke about it a month ago, I've been somewhat around 30% in the title, and I've been so excited to dive back into the world of Rance. Now I had some time to cool down, think about it, and boy was that title hype as hell. And I don't say often the word hype, but holy shit, playing that title made me appreciate how they construct their world and how they prepare for the events of the future. So often in that first playthrough, I mean, honestly, single playthrough because I got everything in the one. There is no need for replay there. It is not like this Rance series features multiple routes, rarely do so. Oftentimes I had to stop myself and point out on the screen, yeah, I know that reference. Like, for example, there is an unnamed NPC you meet during the adventure, and she's a maid that steals bread. And she will come back later in the series that she will keep stealing, but she will not learn her lesson. So you will cut her in the act here, and she will continue to keep stealing bread from the palace. Like, holy, I knew her. She will come back. That was so hilarious. And some of the references are...
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah. I always love it when you have like recurring characters in series, especially long-running series, because then you get those hilarious running jokes.
Exactly. And some of the characters are so far into the future. So there was one character named explicitly like, those inventions aren't as scary as the PR. And that's a character that haven't yet appeared in the series, or at least from the English translation side. That will be a character that will premiere in the last title. And the only way I know is because Rance as a series in the modern canon follows what Kichiko Rance, a very retro big title, a very ambitious one, retells the story. So that was the character featured there. It was a very important character and haven't yet had the opportunity to appear. And it's already, I see references, yeah. That person will meddle in the affairs here. Oh, my God. Anyway, going back to the synopsis. Okay, Rance 03. So this time, it's everything happens in Liaisons. It's the biggest country, the most prosperous country, and it just so happens that it suffers a a revolt, or maybe a better word would be an invasion. So in a day they got conquered, they are occupied, and the struggling forces forming a rebellion, of which people want to recruit Rance to their ranks. And that's how the adventures begin and hijinks ensue, because this, importantly, Rance 03 premieres and makes Rance's first encounter with fiends. And to go a little nerdy on it, fiends in Rance's universe are somewhat of their take on demon lords, okay? And all of them have something called an invincibility field. They cannot be harmed by living creatures, and therefore the biggest question of the title begins: how will you deal with them? Dun 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 dun. Mm-hmm. And man, the story was so hype, so cool.
Now the problem with having sequels is that you always have to find some way to continue stories off of what happened in previous games, right?
Exactly.
And an easy way to handle that is just to know from the outset that they're going to be episodic, and you can just leave open endings for each time. And I'm assuming that's what happens in the Rance series in general. Every time the previous game finishes and every time the current story finishes, it leaves a lot of open-endedness for continuations in the future.
I think the word a lot of open-endedness is appropriate, because this one picks up shortly after the O2. So it just continues. Rance games aren't known for multiple endings, meaning there is one canon ending and you just continue on that. Majority of titles don't even feature what if scenarios. They just have one ending. So you just continue on from what was the last time? In this case, I think it was half a year since the ending of O2. So Rance is chilling in his house after a successful adventure in 02 until someone bangs at his door, and in his infinite graciousness, he opens the door and listens to what they have to say. Because he's such a nice guy, okay?
Oh boy, okay.
Yeah, and hijinks ensue because they need to find the way how to take back the capital of Lysias, as well as to prepare how to face fiends. And yeah, the story is just... it's a ride, okay? It's a wild one. The last time I spoke on Readport, I've been at what is known as hyperbuilding, a place in the story of which events will be referenced throughout the entire series moving forward. So I was not disappointed, okay? Let me tell you. That's a very important and iconic place that will forever change how people, or at least Rance, talks in the future.
He talks. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
there are so many...
Yeah, go ahead.
How can I say it? There was so much anticipation built up both ways, because I know what has transpired in the past and I'm aware of what will transpire in the future. And some of the characters are mentioned. Oh, this is Toma Lipton, the strongest human to currently living, and Rance will be known as someone who overtake that person. And yeah, finally I see that guy that has been referenced so many times in the future.
But with all of that said, and to keep the focus on the whole gameplay side of things, well, first off, how specifically is Rance 03's gameplay in regards to how it is as a series? Because all of the Rance games are gameplay games aspect. Are they the same every time? Are there big changes in the difference? Are there just balance tweaks the whole time to improve and refine it? Or, you know, how does it happen, especially in a remake like Rance 03?
Okay, so this is probably the most interesting part of the Rance series, is that every single title in the series is gameplay focused VN, of which every single one has a different gameplay. Okay?
How
This is very important. And completely different.
Completely?
For example,
are we talking different genres?
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
we go from turn-based to rhythm to third-person shooter to...
Okay, but let's this. In Rance 01, you move in a weird card game-like grid, and you have encounters to be resolved as if you played a board game.
Okay.
Within those encounters, you use poker chips to raise the stake and counter stakes of the poker of the opponent. Okay? That's completely bizarre, but this was Rance 01. Rance 02 obviously follows that through with that dungeon crawling with, how can I say it? Escape room mechanics in which you need to find a solution to the puzzle that you currently stuck on before you move into another map. So you venture on the D&D game board, interacting with objects, kinda in point and click way, in order to advance. Rance 03 follows that up with going back to what was the map movement on Rance 01. Again, board made of moving cards. But unlike the first one that used some weird poker chips and stake system, now you introduce RPG elements and a party-based system of skills, abilities. It's completely different, okay?
A classic.
Every single time they change the formula, sometimes more drastic, sometimes not. In the case of Rance, for example, famously, Rance 05 will become a roulette spin. Like, okay, sure, now you play roulette and you move or advance story depending on your roulette results. Like, okay, apparently we go gambling. Okay, going back to 03. So every single character, without exception, is represented by 4 skills that try to sell how they function, how they exist in the world, what is their skill set. And they contribute in the gameplay element. Gameplay element is about traversing the map, finding key points, and fighting along the way with the monsters. Every single time the board is made out of a row of cards, of which currently you can move forward, left, or right. So think about a row of cards have 7 cards. You cannot move to any card, only to the left, the middle, and to the right. But since the map scrolls, so after you find the upper border, you arrive at the bottom. If you arrive on a different point than before, you will have a different starting point. So you can strategize how to avoid some traps, maybe fight some monsters, some not, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a board game map movement with a side-scroller element to it. Super bizarre, okay?
No, that's not bizarre.
Important.
I mean, that sounds like it's got the classics, the old reliable formats, and it sounds like it's got, choices involved too in the big picture of how to approach encounters.
True.
Yeah.
True. Throughout your adventure, you don't know when moving what is the tile you move onto. So there's a lot of guessing game or remembering the map, whether or not there is a hidden encounter behind the face down card. Is it a trap? Or will you activate your trap? The obligatory Yu-Gi-Oh reference. And so you traverse that obstacle course. You arrive at events, you trigger events, you advance the story, maybe you have a boss fight, etc., etc. And such, the gameplay loop repeats. Now, importantly, I want to focus on character abilities and character progression. So every single person in the Ranceverse has a level, has experience, has skill, etc. Those are canon things they are important to the story, and everybody is defined by those characteristics, which is important. To sell you on that, oftentimes Rance will be nagging for a help in the adventuring guild. Like, I don't want to bother, I need some help with people, etc., etc. He'll be crying like a baby for more party members. And he will get such a trashy party members, they don't function whatsoever. Which is a funny narrative device. From the gameplay standpoint, they do absolutely nothing. And you still focus on the main character.
Ouch. Those poor trash units.
Yeah. Although, I gotta say, there is a hidden pleasure of mine to find a way to use the characters that are canonically weak and how to fit them into your team. So, for example, I love Queen Leah from Lazius, and she is playable in this game. She is absolutely weak as all hell, and I'm saying, no, I will make her playable if it's the last thing I do. I will invest so much grinding points, improvement points, whatever, make her at least do something to the team. Yeah, but ultimately, I feel what holds back this game is how every single character has to be defined by 4 ability and only 4. And how that works is you play with a slot system. So your party has 6 slots, okay? You can equip up to 6 skills, and whoever is equipped is in your party, who isn't equipped isn't in your party, and it chills in the campsite, okay? Yeah, but that means I want to play with as many cool characters as possible, so majority of them just have 1 skill, and all of them were like, oh yeah, I deal damage. That's it.
Well,
everything became so blunt, so fast. The more party members you have, I look at their... a cool example. You have a very powerful, very canonically good swordsman, Rick, joins your party. He has amazing skill, the Baila way. He takes his giant red swords and cleaves the entire armies with it. Okay, wow. So you're like, okay, now I feel powerful. I have canonically great guy. I recruited to the party. He's never leaving. Okay, I don't allow him to leave.
Yeah, you find your strongest guy. You load him up. And it's like, okay, buddy, you're the carry.
Yeah, and the rest of his skills are like, yeah, but I get even stronger. I'm like, no, stop stealing slots. You have 1 slot. You do 1 OP skill, and nothing else matters from you. I don't know how to describe it. The system is so limited what they want to showcase people, but slots are so valuable from the gameplay's perspective, and you don't want to reach a game over screen to load the previous save state, to lose your progress. I'm like, or worse yet, your party member faints, so you have a weaker team, so you need to go back to town. I'm like, oh my god, I don't want all those busy work. So I put all the most efficient abilities to the detriment of cool interactions or abilities that are maybe iconic to those characters. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of wasted potential in how majority of characters have bloated skill sets you never used. You have 10 characters in your team, let's say 10 characters in your party. But active slots are 6. Each of party members have 4 skills. That's 40. How the fuck do you take 6 out of them? That means you need to do the best of all the best.
Well, to a certain degree, because on the flip side, you can't just be allowing you to roll up to fights with 40 skills at your disposal.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, you'll find the most optimal ways to combine them, and you won't use anything else. Or you'll just have every use case covered, and as soon as the enemy does anything, you'll have the perfect counter lined up to address it. So
I feel like this is why classical JRPGs allow every character to have a turn and pick a skill out of their own list.
Yes.
right? That was the argument I was building upon. Here, before encounter happen, you need to equip skills, and those is something you work with until that party member faints and get replaced by someone random. And quite literally, the game just randoms. Oh yeah, your backup squad, the team B, come here. Someone fainted.
Wow.
So because you have to queue up those skills, you need to do that selection. And in order to not deal with all the grind and downtime, you just take the best of the best and don't worry about anything whatsoever. With that said, that meant that a good, honestly, 80 to 90% skills I have never clicked. I haven't even tried them.
Yeah, that
because
happens
I'm like,
with
okay,
me too.
what's the point?
Right. Well, I mean, I think the idea is that you're supposed to bring them around and then try them out at least and get a feel for it. But there's no reason for you to do that unless you're the kind of person who decides to go out of their way to check out things, off the beaten path. Whereas I tend to be the kind of person who okay, I found what works for me and I'm going to stick with it.
Exactly. And funnier part of what you're saying is throughout the adventure, you have some character trials. They can shine because they go on a solo adventure, solo mission. And finally you use all the skills because that's one character. And that's their tool set.
Yeah, that sounds
those
perfect.
Are the best parts. Exactly. Like the ninja skills with evade, I had to be very tactical how to use evade when, evade what, and paralyze this enemy, that enemy. Like finally, holy shit, those skills make sense. And then trial ends, I'm like, okay, you throw shurikens now. That's all you do. You'll never use any other skills. Ever.
Oh.
Okay. So this is important. So I spoke so far only with gameplay functionality. Right? Mm-hmm. So how the gameplay abilities are references to characters, but ultimately serve a gameplay role. Because now let's say the opposite. How the gameplay influences story, and they have the feedback loop of how one has an influence over the other, and etc. And holy hell, they were meticulous in writing even the freaking descriptions. Because holy hell, I laughed so hard. There is a very crappy character. Because obviously, Rance is very whiny, goes to Adventures Guild, and I'm saying, I want a beautiful girl to fight beautiful, powerful girls in my party, and he gets a guy, right? Obviously. And that guy is absolutely useless. But he has a skill that he keeps developing that skill. And it slowly changes the description. Like, okay, now this skill is so fast that there's 1.4 times it hits. Then it levels up. 1.6 times it hits. And it's slowly at the very end. If you perfect and you maximize that skill, it becomes legendary. You hit it two times. Finally have double hit. And it completely changes the name. And that's the name of the skill. The same character will appear to your party in 6 games.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Because he will finally finalize honing his own skill, and he will still be garbage in that game. And it's so funny because this is just practical. So, as I said, people have levels, they have skills, they are defined by that. But they have, what is most important in Ramsverse, a skill limit. So people are born with a talent or a potential, right? A person can be born, and I have a skill limit of 70, means you can have a potential to rise to be a very powerful human. And that character that I'm referencing, Bernard, has a very garbage skill limit, 20. Okay?
Oh.
And in this game, all characters have 4 abilities that are represented by. And Bernard lets his ultimate at level 36.
Is that high or low? Or
above limit.
Is that high or low or
36?
Yeah.
I mean, he cannot reach it. His level cap is 20.
Oh no, that's a hilarious but also so 36. Sad.
Yeah, right. You see my point? That's so perfect.
Aww.
And you can go, okay, you're like, okay, I'll invest in him. You learn and it's garbage.
Oh.
Oh my, it's trash. So from the comedic standpoint and how it builds upon Ali's soft humor and the world, I like it. It's all of those are super hilarious references. Some in-jokes. Some of them actually matter from the story. So Rick being the super famous general, very powerful swordsman, also trains some random people he interacts with. And it just so happens that a town guardsman from Rance 03, Rance 01, that she returns in Rance 03, is actually a very talented swordswoman. Like, okay. And how they showcase it, her interacting with Rick make her develop such a great skill so fast. She's one of your strongest character, even though she's nobody. She's like a random town guard in I don't know, RPG you find that say, hello, adventurer. But she's so talented, just interacting with a legendary warrior, raise her to top DPS in your team. Oh my god, like, holy crap, from the story standpoint, that makes sense. You even show that in the gameplay, how her skill evolve, and once she reaches ultimate, her own skill rivals that of the ultimate of Rick. In my opinion, it's even better. I'm like, wait, I love that. That's the type of gameplay to story loop I freaking love. You grow attached to those characters. They change in the gameplay sense. They change in the story sense. Both sides of the game acknowledge that and reinforce that. That's super fucking amazing. So that I'm doubly sad that it this game wastes like 90% of abilities on nothing because they aren't functional, or you aren't given an opportunity to experience those references. So
yeah, it's always
saddened.
It's so good whenever you have, I guess, either video games or visual novels, whatnot, that have gameplay aspects, and the gameplay side of things reflects how the story is developing. Whether it's just the personality and the characters, or their growth over time, or even specific relationships they have with each other. It's the little things that make it feel like the gameplay part is so connected to the story. And from what you're describing, that seems to be one good thing Rance does, is that it's not just there's a gameplay part tacked on, it really feels like the gameplay aspect is an extension of the story, right?
Exactly, yeah. And some of them are such a good representation of things even that happened in the past. So for example, currently in Rance 03, you had an opportunity to recruit a boss character from Rance 01. She was a gladiator, and she was known for one killer move. No one could defeat her until Rance showed up and found a funny way to solve it. She had a killer move that defeated everybody in one hit. And you have exactly the same opportunity here. It just so happens that you have to use all 4 abilities of her. Like, okay, cool, I have a reference that is unusable.
And then there's the opposite, where it's the gameplay and story segregation, where it's like, well, okay, for balance and stuff, we have to make it
exactly right. Okay, so I have a gimped warrior, or at least maybe she is sometimes powerful. On the first hit of every combat, if you have all skills unlocked and all skills set up, you can activate Booster. Triple damage. Boost again, 9 times the damage. Boost again, 27 times the damage, and the first hit is critical. Okay, everybody dies. And after that, she's useless. Like, I guess that's funny reference, I guess. And again, works with the vibe, but kind of clashes with the gameplay itself of how you want your party to somewhat function. And you don't want to be dragged by the grinding or shuffling away characters that, oh, now you have a cooldown, so let me open the menu, change the party, unequip the skills, you disappear, pick the character from the list that has a skill that has no cooldown, replace you go to the bench. There's so much downtime of that. So I'm like, okay, let's not play the menu game and let's play the VN for the story. So, okay, cool, you had one moment, right. You did the 27 times the critical damage, say you never. That's the wasted opportunity.
Okay, I suppose. Well, with all of that said, with all of that said,
were absolutely amazing.
You're still enjoying Rance 03 though?
yeah, that was freaking amazing. I love that game.
Yeah, the positives are much more overwhelming than the nitpicks you have.
Yep.
Oh, that's great to hear.
And you asked me a month ago, have I played the old one? Because this is a remaster. I'm having that on the backlog immediately after finishing my current binge.
You're gonna go reverse?
Rance 3, the original. Yeah, I'm going back. I need to compare those because Rance 03 was so fucking amazing. I love that.
All right.
Yeah, and on that note, I need to talk about a different title. It's Yamizome Liberator.
Although you will have to hurry about it.
Yeah, okay. So again, it's a... How can I describe it the best? It's a reverse isekai in which you start the title as a person who died after being isekai. So let's unwind. So the story goes, in the first place, in the backstory, your character, the protagonist, has been hit by a truck, reincarnated in a different world with a task to defeating Demon Lord. You died during that task, but fulfill that. As a reward, you get transported back, you get no reward. And he is so fucking annoyed, he is so pissed, he's promising this is a scam, and I will enact revenge on that goddess who reborn me. And it just so happens that the demon lord you slayed is reincarnated with you. And now the story begins. And that is such a hilarious twist of isekai. It was so fucking hilarious. Because you are set on your ways for revenge, for being freaking scammed, no reward, and you are set on your ways. But it's not so easy. Because Goddess came prepared. She entrusted an isekai powers to people in Earth. So now that you are fighting during the night, during Holy Grail, during some encounters when they're chasing you, and such, the story continues. Like, man, this game is so silly with its premise, and the gameplay aspect is similar to how in Persona games you need to manage the time you spend before the night activities. In this case, nightly chase during the town. In the day, you interact with the character because you know who are those ancient heroes. They are in your class or at least at your schools, but they don't know you. They don't know it's you who's the Demon Lord. So you are, in a very weird way, an evil detective of trying to uncover dirt of those heroines in order to expose their weaknesses and mental fortitude during the battle to give yourself an upper hand. So you're fighting dirty. And that's absolutely hilarious, how you're snooping around to find weaknesses. Man, but this gameplay of this VN sucks ass. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Oh no? Yeah.
So the way it plays is you enter a battle mode with an automatic JRPG system in which you have pre-queued abilities on a cooldown that constantly tick up, and the moment they are 100% ready, they fire off, and everything is automatic, which is super weird.
Oh, I've seen a few like that.
For them. Yeah, it's just so... I don't want to call it mindless. It's just like you put skills into slots, then you rotate those slots, whichever is ready fires automatically. It's just like bare bones, whatever.
Yeah. On the one hand, it encourages you to plan out your fights and to see the synergies like in your skills and what to do against, and you see the joy of it coming together during a fight, and then you can even tweak it or adjust your timings or whatnot. But on the flip side, I always felt like this just took away the interactivity of a typical turn-based, RPG game, where instead of you getting to pick out the skills as appropriate, now you just kind of set it in motion ahead of time and just sit around and watch it play out.
And more annoying, since you are going blind, you don't have the full descriptions of the opponent moves. You just equip the most generic stuff that deals the most damage, and you keep rotating the same thing over the time. I did so. It's like, okay.
God, yeah, exactly.
I don't know what else to say.
I just said that, you're supposed to foresee what's going to happen on the enemy side of things and prepare for it ahead of time. But a lot of times, you don't really get to see what the enemy is up to. So, like, a whole bunch of trash mobs, or maybe even the first time you run into a boss, it's just like, well, let's see how this goes, I guess.
And to make matters worse, or at least maybe made my mind numb, is every single skill also displays an icon. I'm a good against this character, and it's displayed, and I'm crap against this character. So now, literally on your skill, it says, equip me for this fight on your skills. Like, what? I guess. Just, please kill me. The gameplay was so wacko, okay? I mean, the idea was actually really cool. You fight more of a taunting battle. You try to get into their head and break their mental fortitude by taunting in a demonic way, by exposing their weaknesses, taunting them for their flaws or maybe insecurities. Like, okay, that's kind of edgy, funny, etc. But I don't want to rotate no deck or skills or wait for them to ready up. Like, oh my god, it's like.
Oh.
And the game, that's the funniest part. The game's like, but beware, all of those heroines are loading the ultimate skill. I never saw anyone use any ultimate. Did I play something wrong? I 100% at the game. I haven't seen a single one.
Okay.
The fuck? Am I too efficient? Should I play new run? No, and new game plus, because obviously this game has new game plus bonuses. My god, don't get me started on those. So should I just go completely new run, take the highest possible difficulty, and then I'll see ultimates? I don't know. I've never seen anybody use anything. Scary, like, okay. Even something that should be interesting. So discovering skills based on what those opponents do and incorporating that in your own arsenal felt blunt, because every single skill said, oh, I'm good against this one. Okay, so no thinking required, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm fighting against a technological heroine who drops, so quote unquote, I guess you can say drops, a skill that protects from magic. Guess who I'm use this against? A magic heroine. Like, okay. Wow. Such a brain teaser.
Oh boy.
It's so weird. I think the story and the setup was so much funnier and so much more enjoyable than the gameplay part, sadly. Because every single encounter felt like some sort of endurance of being somewhat of a defensive, because you do not have, or at least you do not aim to kill them, but rather break their spirit and make them join your alliance of darkness, like kind of twisted PR recruitment firm. Like, okay, that's funny. That's actually funny. And in one, heroine was so funny because her battle, okay, you have some swordswoman, you fight with swords and you deflect, etc. You have a knight, she fights with a rapier, okay, you block and deflect and down. You have an archer, she shoots you with the bows and lays traps, okay, you dodge, etc. and you counter. But not magical girl. Idle on the stage. No, you bust move and you counter dance her dance. That's hilarious as fuck. You dance so devilishly to allure her and break her spirit. That's fucking hilarious. Every single time I read something about I joined the dance scene and I bust the move. Like, okay, that's funny. That's funny.
Oh
and
gosh.
all the skills you acquired from her were referencing like a moonwalk. Then you moonwalk. Oh my! It was so funny.
You find the most
That was
oddball titles, man.
Yes, okay, I admit. Yeah. The silliness of the story captured me. It had a certain edge to it of helping the demon lord and trying to corrupt all the heroines as an act of revenge of being screwed over on your isekai deal. That's hilarious. But holy shit, the gameplay was... You can lose me with this crap. No bueno.
Mm-mm. Overall, did you enjoy it?
And
would you recommend it?
yeah. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Ouch.
Stick to Rance. I'm not recommend. This is just the gameplay is too annoying. I'll be first to admit, even though the setup and the story is funny. No, the gameplay is not worth it. I'm sorry. You'll
Ouch.
get frustrated and the frustration might outweigh the fun and silliness you may have from the humor.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sad. Oh well. At least I had some laughs.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's some merit to it. And besides, you've also been reading Rance 3. It all works out. You've had a fun time lately.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I got my feel.
Yeah, thank you very much. Especially some of your insights about the whole gameplay aspect and what made it interesting and what didn't. So thank you very much, MR. And I hope everyone else enjoyed hearing about the stuff and the other titles we've been up to and reading.
Yeah, thanks all our listening for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. I hope you'll share in the comments what gameplay events you've played recently. And I'm not done yet. Next week, more gameplay, more Demon Lords.
Oh my gosh.
VNture out.
VNture out.